We're completely surrounded by all this incredible technology. But have you ever stopped to think about the tiny little things that make it all tick? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of these silent workhorses and figure out what it really does. Okay, so take a look at this. At first glance, it's just a list next to some tiny black specks, right? But believe it or not, these little guys are the unsung heroes of, everything. They're in your phone, your laptop, even your coffee maker. They're like these microscopic bodyguards for all our modern tech.
So what's the deal with them? What do all those letters and numbers actually mean? And what in the world are they doing like millions of times a second? That is exactly what we're going to figure out. We're going to take this super technical looking thing and make it make sense for everyone.
All right, first things first. Let's look at the name right at the top, SMD diode. The clue to what this thing is, it's hidden right there in those two simple words.
Okay, so let's tackle that first word, diode. The official textbook definition says it's an electronic component that lets current flow in only one direction, which is true. But it's also kind of dry, right? To really get it, let's think about it in a much simpler way.
Picture this. A diode is basically a one-way street for electricity. That's it. The electricity can drive down the street, but there's no turning back. It can't go in reverse. And that simple little rule is so important. It's what protects all the delicate parts of a circuit. It's all about being a traffic cop for electricity.
All right, that was diode. Now for the SMD part. That stands for surface mount device. If you've ever cracked open some really old electronics, you'd see these components with long, spindly wire legs that were pushed through holes in the circuit board. Well, SMDs completely changed the game. They're mounted right on top, flat against the surface. And that tiny change, it had huge consequences.
So why is that such a big deal? Well, this is literally the secret sauce behind all our cool compact gadgets. Because SMDs are so tiny, engineers can cram way more of them onto a circuit board. You get more power in less space. Plus, robots can place them super fast. That right there? That's how your phone became a tiny supercomputer that you can just slide into your pocket. Okay, so we've got the name down, surface mount diode. Easy enough. Now let's get to the numbers. We've got 1 ampere and then this whole list of different voltages. This is where we get into how well these little guys do their job.
First up, you'll notice every single diode on this list is rated for 1 ampere. An ampere, or just amp for short, is how we measure electrical current. So that 1 amp rating is basically its speed limit. It's telling us the maximum amount of electricity that can safely flow through it without causing any trouble.
So to really wrap our heads around this, the best way is to think of electricity like water flowing through a pipe. Amps, or current, is like the amount of water flowing through, the volume. Is it a trickle or a gush? Volts, on the other hand, is the pressure behind that water. How hard is it being pushed? So you see, they're partners, but they're measuring two totally different things.
And that brings us to the last piece of the puzzle here. If you look at the list, the voltage ratings go from 50 volts all the way up to 1,000 volts. That's a huge range. So why? Why so many different options? Why not just make one super diode that does it all?
Well, it comes down to a really simple idea. Different jobs require different tools. And that's just as true in electronics as it is in a workshop. You wouldn't use a sledgehammer to put a tiny nail on the wall, right? Same idea here. You don't want to use a massive, high-voltage diode for a delicate, low-power job.
So think of this M series as a complete toolkit. The ones at the low end, say 50 to 200 volts, those are your precision tools. Perfect for really delicate stuff like tiny sensors. Then you've got your mid-range, the 400 to 600 volt guys. That's your all-purpose workhorse for everyday things like your TV or your blender. And then you have the heavy-duty stuff, the 800 and 1,000 volt models. These are for the big jobs, like industrial power supplies. You gotta match the tool to the task. Okay, let's zoom out and put all these pieces together. We started with what looked like a really confusing list and some little black dots. But now we speak the language.
So what are the big takeaways? 1. A diode is just a one-way street for electricity. Simple. 2. SMD tech is why our gadgets are so small and powerful. 3. Amps are the volume of electricity, and volts are the pressure. And 4. The M series is a whole toolkit, with the right size tool for any power level.
So let's go back to that image we started with. Look at it now. It's not so mysterious anymore, is it? You can look at that and know exactly what you're seeing. It's a family of 1 amp surface mount diodes, each built to handle a different amount of electrical pressure. You can totally read its story now.
And that just leaves me with one final question for you. Just think about where you are right now. How many millions of these little silent guardians are whirring away all around you, making your world work? Probably millions, maybe more. And the cool thing is, now you know exactly what each and every one of them is doing.